What was your first reaction? What was your first response to this new way of teaching reading?
Panic.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah. A trained Read 180 teacher. So we were drilled with rotations and rotations and rotations. And now all of a sudden this form of teaching isn't rotations anymore. It's a lot of student-led, student-based work. And then we're just conferencing with the kids. And I'm used to a room where it's quiet and the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And now I'm in a room where there's constant talking going on in this corner and over there, and because they want the kids talking. So as the weeks have gone on, it's been getting easier. However, today Dr. Green was in here giving me my observation. I'm like, oh my God, the kids aren't quiet. What am I going to do? Because she doesn't know the reading series.
Right.
They're reading in their 6th grade geology book when 18 of my kids are black or below. So only 2 of them are 6th grade level. So I got to assume that when they're partnered up, they're going to be able to assist each other. Because when I do have them up there, I have them not just one at a time. I have all of my reds together and all my blacks together, because there's no way you could get through everybody in 1 week if I'm going to pull one up at a time. So when we're up there and I'm conferencing with them, they're also doing, like today, my red group had our graphic organizer for Central Idea. So we're reading the story in geology, and they're reading to me, and as they're reading to me, I'm taking mental notes, like what do I need to type in there when I get to my laptop eventually. Right. And they're also filling in, do they know Central Idea? Do they know the topic? Can they figure out what the supporting details are? So that graphic organizer is going to be given to me. I'm going to grade it to see if they actually understand the topic and the standard that's being taught.
So you are using written documentation to assess whether or not they're growing in the particular goal and their particular skill.
Right.
Okay.
And it's all in the IRLA book.
Okay.
Everything I'm using is being pulled from that book.
Can you give me an example of what you mean by that? I mean, for instance, the graphic organizer is one thing. Okay.
They have tons of them. We have a compare and contrast one coming up where it's not just the Venn diagram that gets all mushed together. It's 2 separate pages. And then the cause and effect one is 2 separate pages.
Are these skills that are taught explicitly, or how are these skills taught to these individuals? Because everyone has a different skill. I mean, in 1B, they're talking about power words. Now you're talking about cause and effect, which is quite higher.
Because they do have to know the 6th grade skills. So I am still teaching theme and central idea, and all of those different skills still need to be taught.
When do you do that?
In small group while I'm conferencing them, and whole group, because the whole group lesson always focuses on some sort of standard. So you're supposed to be teaching that standard.
How do you initiate it?
Whole group. I always start with whole group. We go from math to science or social studies, where it's kind of like quiet. They're doing some work on their own so I can get ready for reading. So it always starts with whole group. And we go exactly, well, not exactly what the page says, but I follow as much as I possibly can, because that's where I'm teaching or reviewing the standard. So they have a reminder, familiar, and then I'm trying to throw in, for example, central idea. I'm teaching them that central idea means main idea, because they're switching those words around, but the kids know main idea.
Yes, they do.
So I'm trying to get all those words thrown in there. And then I'm trying to explain on the Promethean board. I'll do an example, my own, like I've been doing the project with them.
Right.
So,
I noticed the chart that you have up here on your Promethean board. Is that something that you made based on IRLA, or is that something provided by IRLA that you just projected?
oh, I just made that.
You made that.
But I did copy it straight from, not straight from, I just reworded it.
Okay.
That's part of the whole group.
In a sense, it's an anchor chart. Would you agree? Okay. Let's get back to that whole group. Today, what did you talk about?
We were reviewing, we did a number line, because we're starting the geological timeline, so we did a practice, their life timeline.
Okay, not a number line, but a timeline.
I said
Okay.
number line. So a timeline. So we were reviewing, again, what central idea was, how to fill out the graphic organizer, and then I was explaining what they were about to do. So at this point, for whole group today, was not me necessarily up front
Okay.
teaching. It was me with my red kids working on the graphic organizer for Central Idea. And I sent the kids out with groups of the white kids paired up with white kids to reread the article, the second read on the article, to fill out the graphic organizer.
Okay, so you allowed students on their own to have form their own groups depending upon their reading level.
Yes.
And they were able to work on things together. Do you find that they're usually on task?
Yes.
How did you make that happen?
Practice.
Okay.
And if they weren't on task, I pulled them out, put them at their desk. You're done. You don't get any chances. You're 12 years old. So if I see you messing around, I break them up, and then I let them try again the next day.
Okay, so they get a second chance.
They get a second chance.
Does that usually help?
Mhm.
It
Oh,
usually
yeah.
does. Because they want to be part of the group.
They do. But you have to be clear, and they all know that this is a 6th grade book, and it's hard to read.
Right.
It's hard to read for me. So they learn. They do learn.
Okay, okay. So how long does that segment of the block last, roughly
It depends,
speaking?
20 to 40 minutes.
20 to 40
Yeah.
minutes. Okay, so the reading block, they talk about whole group, and then they talk about small
So
group.
They talk about readers' workshop,
Okay.
and that's where you kind of focus on the research questions.
So the reader's workshop is specifically for the research questions.
One of them is.
One of them.
Yes.
Okay, because every week there's a different question. Is that
Yes.
what question are you working with now?
4. So,
And that you're more concerned about quality over
yeah,
quantity,
I took
aren't
out
you?
question 5 and question 7.
Okay. What about paraphrasing? Are children paraphrasing when they are responding to research questions? Or are they just pretty much copying it from the book?
At the beginning, they were copying.
Okay,
And then I pulled one out, and I didn't say a name.
right.
I just reread it.
Okay.
And then I asked some kids to explain what those words meant. And they're like, we can't. And I said, I know you can't, because no 6th grader talks like this. I said, this 6th grader threw in the word whereas. I said, who says that?
Yeah, teachers, we hardly say that ourselves.
So
Okay.
I told them, I said, if I think you are copying and pasting, I said, I'm going to call you out on it, and you're going to have to explain to the class what this means.
So, how do you get them to jump from copying to actually paraphrasing?
Understanding what they read.
Okay.
We started off this unit, and they were just researching, like geology.com, all of the scientific websites. I said, if you throw in student-friendly language or elementary language, it's going to give it to you in a much easier way to understand.
Okay.
Because not too long ago, question 3, we read a story in our book on plate tectonics.
Right.
And I'm like, what? What are they even talking about?
Right.
So then I went home and I found a student-friendly version of plate tectonics, and then we read it, and then they were able to summarize what the difficult article said. You're gonna walk around and be like, oh my gosh, geology, it's so boring. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, geology,
It's
why are we
so
still doing this? Because this is a long
It is.
unit.
It is a long unit.
So,
And I did have some apprehension about, oh my God, kids are going to be talking about weather for how many weeks?
and they're still excited.
And they're still
tired
excited.
of hearing about tsunamis and volcanoes and mountains. They're drawing me pictures of mountains now, and I'm just like,
Oh, that sounds like yeah, right. So that's a win. That's a success.
Yes, they're loving
What
it.
other successes have you witnessed?
they are working more cohesively as groups. At the beginning of the year, they came to me and they didn't really know how to talk back and forth to each other in a positive way. So now, as we're teaching them how should you respond if you have some sort of difference, their attitude has changed. I'm hearing more 6th grade appropriate discussions than, well, that's not what I think, and giving attitude to each other. They're actually talking them out. And I think it's because of practice. And
You have a lot of books.
and this isn't
You're
even,
fortunate.
there's a whole bunch still, all those crates over there still need to be leveled. So I think because they have such a giant choice of books, it's helping. And I'm making them become accountable. Because they started the 100 book challenge, of course,
Right.
and I wasn't happy with the reading log. So now they do a little book review.
Okay.
And they have to put their name on it, tell me the genre,
Okay.
They have to do a quick little summary on it. They have to rate it, and then they have to say, would you recommend it to a kid and why?
Do you have a template for that?
I do.
Is that something you're willing to share?
Uh-huh. Their
Yes.
books move up on that chart like you wouldn't believe. And I'm like, okay, let's do stickers.
Oh, so you have a chart. I just realized that here, that you have a chart showing the progress the
books
kids
they've
have
read.
made in independent. Okay. Because that was one of the concerns, was that one of the power goals is you have to read chapter books, a chapter book a week, or you have to read historical fiction, science fiction, biographies. And so a
Yeah.
teacher asks, well, how do I know that? Because the reading log provided by ARC has
No, I
it
didn't
doesn't
like it.
point
I don't-
out
I don't
genre.
use it.
I
Right.
just made one today, but I like yours better because you're talking about recommendations. Now we're talking about we value your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that way
They
better.
like it.
What about that wide range? How do you deal with the blues and trying to get them, trying to get them moving upward?
They get majority of my time.
They do.
My blues get the one-on-one attention from me.
Okay.
And then when we get to our intervention time, my blues and my reds are usually with me. So they get a lot of time. They're always sitting right next to me. And when we were reading that geology book today, they were offering to attempt it. And I was like, that's progress. It was a 6th grade book. They were sounding out the words, covering the parts they didn't know, sounding them out.
Oh, good. They're using the strategies.
Yeah,
You're
so
seeing
they're
them
getting there.
implementing there. Oh,
So-
great. That's wonderful to hear. What still worries you?
A lot still worries me. That test coming up, I don't know if this reading series is helping us.
I
Teach
had a
them
discussion
to-
with the PLC
Yeah.
earlier today, and they were talking about literary response and how that's such a big thing in iLearn. And they don't feel like they're having enough resources to really get that skill
No,
across.
there isn't. There's not those constructive responses questions in there. You're going to have to create them yourself. There's a few, like on our research questions, they give you one,
Right.
but that's it. There's one.
Okay,
So
so
we have to create.
that's okay.
This isn't a reading series that is from 8 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. It's our first year. You need to take that book home. You need to look. I look through that book every single day. Do I do everything in that book? No. There's a part that says when the kid is done with their independent work, walk around and help another kid. No.
Okay.
No, is that going to happen in here?
Right.
So, But I do. I'm here beyond my contracted time.
Right.
But every day it gets a little bit easier if you're willing to try. If you're not willing to try, it is never going to get easier. Because everything I do with the kids, I do one of my own. And then I laminate it. So it's there for next year.
That's another question. Are you modeling the writing process? How are you modeling the writing process?
I am doing it on the Promethean board.
Okay.
So I will have an example up. So I will do one myself. It'll be sitting back there. And then when we're ready to go through it, I will pull up the example and be like, this is what it should look like. This room is still working on finger spaces for
Okay.
paragraphs. So
What about the rubrics? Are they helpful? The
They
writing
are.
rubrics?
they are. My kids at the beginning had no idea what to do with them. Trying to get them to switch it up a little bit.
Okay, and
I'm
you don't want
challenging them. So I don't
Okay.
want them to see like
you don't want
the basic
copycat
books.
products.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're going to start discussing the different type of projects next week. I told them no Google Slides whatsoever.
Okay.
None, because that's what they're familiar with. And I was like, I want you to step out of your box. So I threw in
You're a
some
tough
maybe
one. Okay.
some.
So, what are the choices that you are giving them?
Right now, I think somebody has thrown up. Some kid in here loves to talk. He
Okay.
loves himself in front of the camera. He's like, can I do a video?
Excellent.
Like, okay.
And I would love for you or me or anyone to come in and video record that so that we can showcase our kids.
Yeah.
I think kids need to know that East Chicago kids are capable.
They are.
They're
They
capable.
are. And once you believe the kids are capable, they're capable.